Right then, it's a big welcome back to BT Sport for Jake Paul, the man who's fighting Anderson Silva, of course, on October 29th. But we'll talk about that in a bit. At the moment, first up, we're talking about Amanda Serrano, who obviously has the huge world title fight, the featherweight world title fight this weekend, September 24th, against Sarah Mahfoud. Jake, talk to me about making this fight, because obviously her original fight on the card with Hassan Rahman Jr., that got called off, and you were very eager to pay the boxes you had on that card, but also make sure that the ones in the big fights got another big fight. And this one ended up being bigger.
Yeah, look, I mean, look, I know how it is for these fighters when a fight gets canceled. It's happened to me so many times, and it sucks. It's devastating for everyone involved. And so I wanted to get the undercard fighters who are counting on that payday. I paid them 50% of their purse, and then Amanda Serrano, obviously, with Most Valuable Promotions, we wanted to keep her active and get her a fight as soon as possible. And this card made perfect sense. And this is a really great fight, a unification, a massive fight, and a great way for her to get back in front of the European fans. So it just made sense all the way around the board. And Amanda was down, and we just made it happen.
Has her motivation changed since that Katie Taylor fight? Obviously, on the night, an incredibly close loss, but one of those losses that really everyone was a winner. Have you seen her motivation change and look for bigger and bigger nights?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think she definitely wants to get that one back, for sure, just knowing Amanda. But now I think she realizes and has this like self-belief in herself of realizing how big of a star she can become. I think even she was surprised with like the turnout at Madison Square Garden and the pay-per-view and the attention. And I think it's motivating for her, someone who wasn't really in the spotlight, never really got the credit that she deserved. Now she's, on a roll, and this is, it almost feels like a new chapter for her, and she's more motivated than ever, can make more money than she ever has, and is getting sponsorship deals, all these sorts of things. And that type of stuff motivates a fighter who has been hungry for a very long time.
So I'm sure in all the fight week interviews, she'll be saying she can't look past this fight. Sarah Mahfoud, obviously a world champion in her own right, but the talk between you two must have been at various points, okay, let's get undisputed, and then we can make that mega rematch happen. Two undisputed fighters. Has she mentioned that, or does she just try and concentrate on the next one?
No, yeah, I think she definitely wants to go for undisputed, and that's I think she wants to go after Erica Cruz, who is signed to Matchroom for that undisputed title, and we're down to pay Erica $250K to do that fight. So that's a huge fight on the horizon, and Amanda wants to become undisputed and then go back after Katie Taylor.
Did she put a lot of pressure on you when that fight got cancelled, or was that something you took entirely on yourself?
No, we took that upon ourselves, Nikisa and I. Amanda's the coolest person in the world. She was just like, oh, like, it's okay, like, what, we'll figure it out. But we, have a responsibility as managers to, make stuff happen for our clients, and that's what we did.
Yeah, you mentioned that responsibility, and you spoke about it a few times, obviously with paying the fighters 50% of their purse. So you got into this boxing game, and I know you had a lot of doubters at the beginning, but you do seem to talk quite often about wanting to make things right in boxing. And was there a point on the journey where the motivation changed from making money and making the big fights for yourself to trying to sort boxing from the inside?
Yeah, I think like very, very early on, I think coming into the sport, I saw there was a ton of room to innovate and like do things differently. And There wasn't anyone, in my opinion, who was like doing promotions the right way, or like hyping up fights the right way, and branding themselves even as a fighter the right way, to be like a household name. Like, who is the Muhammad Ali of this generation? You can't really answer that yet. And so there's just a ton of room to innovate. And I think helping fighters was one of the big things. And that came from me speaking to Amanda Serrano. That was a big part of it, hearing her story when we met up in Los Angeles, and hearing how she was only getting paid like $5,000 for fights. And she's, the greatest woman of all time, 7 unifications across weight classes. And I was like, you deserve to be a star. So that definitely like sparked it. And then the whole thing with like the UFC and them getting underpaid. So yeah, I'm just trying to make as much change as possible within the sport on every different side of the coin.
Do you think that a little bit of that wanting to make a change came from the doubt you had at the beginning? Obviously, the YouTube side of combat sports has faced criticism from all angles, right? Particularly at the beginning, before people understood and saw what it was doing to the audience. But do you think in a lot of ways, people doubting your intentions in the sport made you want to do things differently and make things better for fighters?
I think it made me want to work harder. Yes. I think I had my like intentions set. I'm very like strong in my beliefs and motives from the jump, even when I was 16 years old and like wanted to become a YouTuber and an actor. And I had this like dream in my head. I had this vision of like what I would become, and I just went for it. And there was people who were like, tried to strip me of that and be like, oh, like, you can't do this, you can't do that. And it didn't really like make me change my beliefs, but it just made me work harder. And so I think that's what happened here in boxing. My beliefs were set. People tried to discredit me, and I'm simply just have put in more effort, and it's used that as motivation to prove them wrong.
What are you getting more joy out of at the moment? The boxing itself and being the star, or bringing people up with you? Because I know you've got an 18-year-old in your roster as well that's just been signed to the card on the 29th as well, right?
Yeah, look, I think it's both. I think the fact that I get to do both at the same time is what's beautiful about it. Like, being an active fighter and an active promoter and manager at the same time is super unique and super fun. I get to have an amazing fun night on October 29th, but then also Anderson Silva, gets to fight on the undercard and have a big legendary moment for himself as an 18-year-old kid, and helping to make his dreams come true. So doing both at the same time, I think, is what's really rewarding.
18 years old. If he goes well and you start enjoying that journey, that's a long time you've got to commit to being his promoter for.
Let's go. I'm in this for the long haul. I will always be in boxing. You will always see me at fights. You will always see me promoting someone for the rest of my life. I think I'll have a bigger impact like outside of the sport of boxing, like outside of the ring versus in the ring. I think I will be around for many, many years trying to make this a better sport.
Because you seem to be more focused on boxing than anything, right? We see Logan's obviously his own man, but Logan is doing this, that, and everything. He's obviously WWE big time now, which we'll speak about in a minute. But you seem to be very much committed to the boxing side of things. Like, you've got your show as well, the BS show, but it almost isn't what you're known for now. I think you've become known for doing the fight sports rather than your previous career. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, no, for sure. And rightfully so. When I wake up every day, the first priority is boxing, is training. And, second to that is, the media and, launched my company better. And obviously my show, BS with Jake Paul, and business ventures like that. But boxing comes first, because that's what all the momentum is built off of. I can only help Anderson Silva become the greatest and biggest fighter that he can become if I'm the greatest and biggest fighter that I can become. So, that's really what feeds the ecosystem.
All right, well, let's put boxing first again. Amanda Serrano on Saturday night against Sarah Mahfoud. How do you see it going down?
I think Amanda's been pissed off about the loss. I think she's gonna get a TKO, especially at her natural weight now. So definitely see a TKO on Sarah.
Do you think her being at a natural weight is the fair place to have if the Katie Taylor fight happens again? Do you think it fair's fair and it should be down at Amanda's weight?
I do, or at a lighter weight, a catch weight. We're happy to do a catch weight of 130.5, and Katie can cut 4.5 pounds, and that would be a more natural weight for Amanda, who was only weighing like 133 pounds on the day of the fight, which just like isn't fair, and in boxing, everyone knows 10 pounds, 5 pounds is a huge difference. So if Katie Taylor's coming in at 150, Amanda's 133, that's 17-pound difference. So that's where I think the rematch should happen. And I think if Katie is really the pound for pound best of all time, it would be such a statement for her to come to her lower weight and beat Amanda Serrano. And if she can, then, it'll be 1-1. And we'd have to settle it after that.
It's a really fun card to be a part of, being part of a heavyweight fight night in Britain on BT Sport box office. How much do you know about Joe Joyce and Joseph Parker?
A decent amount. I think it's a great matchup. I think both are amazing fighters. But I think Parker has the edge here.
Why do you think that?
The size as well. Coming to the later rounds when someone has to deal with that weight, that extra weight, the whole entire fight, it tires the other person out, and that's been Tyson Fury's whole strategy.
Well, you mentioned Tyson. The sounds like that Joshua fight might happen. You're in boxing now. That's the biggest fight that can possibly happen in the world at the moment, I think. How would you see that one going, Fury v Joshua?
I think, I think Fury wins. I don't think anyone in the heavyweight division can beat Fury. Just his size, his bounce, his style, his chin. He's a lot to deal with, both on the talent side of things and the the size side of things.
So obviously you've got this fight October 29th, and we've all seen the pictures of you and Anderson Silva. Very little Jake Paul, and then grown-up Jake Paul. It's a bit of a different atmosphere and a bit of a different build-up to some of your previous fights. They've got quite heated in the build-up before, but there's clearly a lot more respect there. Even the fights, Hassan Rahman Jr. and Tommy Fury, that didn't end up happening, like there was animosity and there was kind of spite. Do you think that's going to change at some point closer to the date?
I don't know. I don't think so. Not for me, and I doubt it changes for Anderson. I just have so much respect for him. And he's a really nice guy. As soon as the bell rings, though, all that goes out the window, and it's a fight, and both of our lives are on the line in front of millions of people. So, but the lead up, no, I respect him too much. And, all my other opponents called me out. They talked shit about me. They, made things personal. And that's where the animosity and spite and shit talk comes from. I don't think Anderson or myself, we didn't call each other out. The fight just happened because it's a great matchup. It's probably the best matchup to be made. So there's just a ton of respect there instead of just shit talk.
Does that trash talk make you want to revisit those ones? They're in the past for now, and you've only got Anderson Silva for now, but that Tommy Fury fight I know would be huge in the UK and Hassan Rahman Jr., it feels like there's at least an unsettled beef there, like unfinished business. Would you ever revisit them, or do you see them as completely in the past?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for me because both of them duped me and lost me millions, and me and my partners millions of dollars. And so it's tough to like want to sign up into a business transaction with them again. So we'll see what ends up happening.
Would it be more personal than business with those guys?
Yeah, at the end of the day, like I would love to knock Tommy out and show to the world that like just because someone's a professional boxer with a fancy last name, it doesn't mean anything. And my heart and determination is way more powerful than any experience that this guy has. I don't care if he grew up boxing. I don't care if it's in his bloodline. Like none of that matters. If you want to do something, if you're out there and you're a kid and you put your heart to it and you work hard every single day, that's more important than having a dad and brother who are good at something.
You mentioned the word bloodline there. I'm just going to finish off because we saw a press conference in Vegas the other day. Your brother Logan taking on Roman Reigns for the WWE Universal Championship in Saudi Arabia in a month or so, a couple of months. You mentioned you might head out there. That he has just taken that by absolute storm, hasn't he? And how proud are you to see him do something so well, not look even remotely out of place when he's there?
Yeah, no, it's amazing to see, and he has been crushing it. I couldn't even believe some of the stuff he was doing, some of the wrestling moves, and it's just super entertaining to watch. And he's the definition of like the American dream of anything is possible. Now he's going up against WWE's biggest superstar for the belt in Saudi Arabia. So it's just cool, man. And sometimes I have to like pinch myself because all this just doesn't make any sense. Like two kids from Ohio, just with endless desire to work hard every single day and to chase their dreams.
And you even look at the way they did the press conference, like that's not a thing they really do over there. It's almost like they're dipping into you guys' world and taking that to add to the main event there.
Yeah, no, they had a little press conference. It was cool to see, man. And that's what the WWE, they're super smart and they know what they're doing, man. And it's an amazing organization. I've met with like some of the people there, and everyone just like super nice, super smart, super dialed in.
Perfect. All right, then. Thank you so much, Jake. Best of luck for October 29th. And of course, best of luck to Amanda Serrano on the 24th, this Saturday, on the undercard of Joe Joyce versus Joseph Parker.